What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another great episode of the Ball to Ball series. Today, as always, we have a special guest, my guy Ryan Casey. Ryan, kick game to the people. Tell them a little bit about yourself, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Thanks for having me on. It's my first podcast, man. So I'm super amped. Hi, Mom. LFG. Can't wait to shake and bake. So originally grew up in a northwest suburb of Chicago called Crystal Lake. Moved to Chicago after working for Kraft for about a year in Springfield, Illinois, and then met my wife, Kelsey, at Kraft. We stuck around in Chicago for 8 years, and then currently now living in Ann Arbor full time after Kelsey went to University of Michigan Ross MBA program.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. We fell in love with the area so much and just decided to put down roots here and buy a house and closed on it last Monday. So looking forward to getting involved in the Ann Arbor community and really getting out and seeing pure Michigan. So
love it, man. Definitely a special place, as we talked about earlier, man. Everybody that's been to AA or spent some time there really love how tight-knit of a community it is. And then one thing about Ann Arbor, I think, is a lot of schools will claim to have school pride, but you don't really understand what that really means until you get to Ann Arbor and experience.
Man, we went to Ireland before moving to Ann Arbor in 2019, and I was wearing a Michigan hat, and like 4 kids ran up in the middle of Killarney, I think or Kilkenny was the town, and they were like, "Go Blue!" And then they came back again, and we're like, "Go Blue!" And the guy's like, "Dude, you said go Blue to that guy like 3 times, you know?" And then even on the plane ride over or on the plane ride back, an older couple walked past us and was like, "Go Blue!" So it really is funny, the saying. Obviously, I was not in the MBA program, so I was on the outside as a partner, but like the go Blue, go anywhere mentality is true in every aspect of, like, I feel in networking, like I could reach out to an MBA program partner as a partner and say like, "Hey, I would love to like meet up or just have a coffee chat about work or career moves," and have always felt like super welcomed by the Ann Arbor, Michigan community, which is nice. So
oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, bro. Quick question. Did you ever chance to get to any hockey games?
In Chicago?
No. Well, I guess that's a separate question in itself. The Blackhawks are the truth. At least they were. They had a little.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They're kind of a trash team now, but hopefully they get it turned around. Otherwise, just sell it. It's not looking good right now.
I'm talking about in AA though, because I hear, but I hear they're amazing.
No, Kelsey and I are still itching. We were going to, and I think like COVID cases just started picking up last winter or whatever, and we were just like a little iffy about. We were going to see my family, and 2 people in my family are immunocompromised, so we were just a little hesitant to go to the hockey game, possibly pick up COVID, and then be traveling out to Colorado to see my family. So we've not made it yet, but we're really, now that we're going to be here on a permanent contract for a little while with this house, hopefully can make it. I also want to get out and see the Michigan baseball teams. Apparently the baseball team's pretty good as well too. So really looking forward to seeing more Michigan sports. Not sure I'm going to see the Lions as much, but I'm definitely excited for Michigan football starting to fall. So
oh man, I love it. At least you get a chance to see Hutchinson, who I think went number 2 or something like that earlier on.
Yeah.
Decided to go out to catch.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him in action. So I hope he has a good long career. So
I love it, man. I love it, bro, man. Next question here, man. Like, one big thing about Come Home is we really love to talk about the idea and concept of home. Home means a lot to every person you ask. It means something different. But when you hear the term home, what kind of memories does that kind of bring up for you?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me in life, above all, is family. I grew up in a really great, loving family. I have an awesome, badass grandma who lives with my parents. She's got health issues. I was super blessed to know my great grandparents for the first 20 years of my life. And, you know, I've always had really supportive parents. I grew up in a very loving home. You know, it was strict, it was disciplined. You had to do your chores on Saturday, but like, man, it was just like my dad would build model rockets with us. He would come home from work and like you could tell he was super tired, but he would like sit down and we had a Sega Saturn and he would play Myst. And like that game was way too scary for us as kids to like figure out. It was like really creepy. My dad like loved playing it with us, you know, or like going around and tossing the ball. And you know, my mom's awesome. So I always grew up in a very supportive, loving family. And for me, like home is like feeling comfortable that I can go back to my parents' house and um just be my like authentic self around them. And I don't have to like hide, you know, anything, or I don't have to like, you know, put a show on in terms of like what my personality is. Like when I'm home, I'm my true self. And um my parents are very accepting of that. You know, like I'm a bald dude, middle aged. I have tattoos. I still rock punk rock and loud heavy metal music, and I have 2 earrings, and I've worn it throughout my entire career. And like that's just who I am. I'm not some dude in a suit and tie. I love getting dressed up, but you know that mold doesn't fit me. So
Dude, I love the self-expression, man. And like, you know, one thing I love about the brand is the level of authenticity that we like to bring.
mm-hmm.
About that answer though is like the unapologetic level of self-expression to me is
Yeah,
everything. It's just everything. Like when
yeah,
people ask me like, hey, what makes you confident or, you know, willing to take the risk to be an entrepreneur and to build this? To me, it's always like, well, it feels so purpose driven. Like I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm
yeah,
not like I'm playing directly in the lane that I felt like was made for me. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk
yeah,
about like, yo, the tattoos, the double
yeah,
vision, how that's so you, like when you move in that space,
yeah,
you're just so unbothered and you just oh,
yeah.
I love that answer, bro.
Yeah. Man, I had a job in 2013. It was a great job, man. It was my first time like working in an actual office. And like I remember like taking my earrings out because I felt like I needed to be a professional, but like really taking my earrings out doesn't take away from my ability to do the job at all. So um yeah, that's like I said, that's who I am. I am what I am, and unapologetic for it. So
Oh, that's a clip right there, and that's a short clip for IG right there, man. Oh man, I love this. I love where this is going, man. Any chance this is random, but you just because you said it popped in my head. You guys are in Michigan, Detroit. You said I am who I am. It reminded me of the Eminem song. I am whatever you say I am. Are you familiar with that song at all?
oh yeah, yeah.
Classic hit,
Dude, I
man.
still have, oh my God, it's what is the name? I can't even remember the name of the song, but it's him and Nate Dogg. That's like one of my go-to songs to bump, man, when I'm in the gym. It's just like I'm ready to run through a planet when I put that on. So it's you know, it's old school, but God, I just yeah, I love putting on a little old Eminem once in a while when I'm working out. So
Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Gotta have it, dog. Amazing answer. Amazing answer, bro. We're gonna move forward now, obviously, to the feature presentation, my guy. You know,
yeah,
while everybody's here. Clearly, I look at you today, rocking the ball, smooth, clean, confident with it. But we know at some point back in the day you had hair. So kind
yeah,
of take it back a little bit for us, whether it's, I don't know, middle school, high school, whatever you can
yeah.
remember. What kind of hair did you have growing up? Start there. What did it mean to you, bro? Let's walk through your story.
Yeah. So growing up, I always had really wavy, curly brown hair. Um, you know, my mom used to joke like she loved running her hands through my hair when I was a kid. And it was like I got like long eyelashes as a male, you know, I got dimples. So it was like everyone like always, I feel like loved those features, the dimples, the long eyelashes, the wavy, curly hair.
Supermodel
Um,
flow. You had everything you needed.
yeah, I had the flow. At one point, I tried growing it out one summer when that was like the thing to do in 2003, you know, with Hollister and Abercrombie or
Yeah.
whatever. And I actually ended up having a bat fly in my hair while we were walking around the neighborhood at my buddy's place. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time to, it's okay to have the hair, but we don't need it that long. So yeah, you know, I've always had like really curly, wavy hair growing up as a kid. So
And if we get through high school, same thing in high school, college,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
So tell me if this, you may not have an answer to this, but when you think back, did that hair mean anything to you? Do you feel like it was part of your identity? Because I think a lot of the times when guys get to the point when they are ready to come home and they struggle, is
Yeah.
because, you know, you've had 30 years of with hair, so it
Yeah.
feels so much as a part of your identity. Talk to me
Yeah.
about what that, if you can think back on it now, did that hair mean anything to you?
Not really. It to me,
Mm,
it was just there. It's
yeah,
like it, and I feel like now you see many more prevalent bald men, in Hollywood and social media and all that, whatever. Um, but I think it was almost like a societal norm where I was just like, it's just you just have hair. And you lose your hair when you turn 40 or 45 and you start growing gray and getting the salt and pepper in the beard or whatever. But choosing to actually come home and end up as a bald man by your own choice, when I was growing up in the early 2000s, like it wasn't really something that men were like choosing to do. It was like a last resort. So yeah.
I have a backup question here then. Um, Tell me about growing up. You had the hair, the flowing, the wavy hair. Did you have much of a hair care routine, or was it just
Oh
easy?
yeah, yeah.
You did.
Man, did I. My best man at our wedding, there's a line in his speech where he's like, because we were best friends from like sophomore or freshman year on, and he talks about we went to ISU together. We roomed for 4 years at college. We also roomed in our apartment in Chicago for I think the first 2.5 years of living in Chicago. And he's like, I never knew how much hair product and facial product Ryan had, or that a man could have in general when you are splitting like a 10 by 10 room together. I had like different types of like fiber and gel because of my wavy hair. I could never get like the hold strong enough to keep it, spiky or whatever the look was when I had it. So I had like a total war chest on top of my dresser in college that the clothes didn't go over the part of the closet because it was like this facial lotion, this 9 different types of like gels and fibers and pomades and all that stuff, trying to figure out like what is the right combo so that I can look decent when I go out. So
Wow, that's good to know. So the reason I asked that question, so now it's perplexing me even more. I asked that because I was wondering, I was like, okay, cool. Ryan, he always knew he had the hair, but it never was like a big part of his identity. So it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay, I wonder if he spent a lot of time like having to maintain it. But you answer the question is you did.
yeah,
Even with all the time spent, all the products. So you spent time doing whatever you had to do, but it still didn't feel like
yeah,
interesting. That's
yeah.
very interesting.
It's just something I did because I like again, like I said, I think just society was like just have hair until you get older. And then
Mhm.
it's okay to bald once you and so yeah, it's just what I did. Was a extensive hair care routine, and obviously we know how expensive hair care or haircuts can be nowadays. Um, this is super cheap, like super cost effective, I got 100 pack of razors on Amazon for my safety razor, and I don't even think I'm 1/10 of the way through. And I think I bought it 3 years ago, so
Wow. You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. That's another little a short ad for guys to come home there, man. Trying to
yeah,
save money, come on home.
yeah, very, very cost effective to do so.
So bro, keep walking me through this story here because I already know what happens, but
Yeah,
walking me through it. Is it college or when is it that you have this mishap?
yeah. So I had hair up until probably 2007. My coming home moment was literally what I would call a different version of a Bob Ross happy accident. We were out at the bars, enjoying ourselves, and I had a buddy, Justin, real good looking dude, who cut his own hair with like hair clippers. And he always had like a really nice, like lined up haircut. And I remember like coming home from the bar one night, and like looking at myself in the mirror as I was like getting ready for bed. And my hair length was probably like a week or two overdue for a haircut. And I was like, you know what? You got to like cut this mop, man. So I grabbed the hair clippers and probably didn't put the guard on correctly. So it was like half on, half off. And then, yeah, like literally in a drunken stupor, took the guard up and noticed how high it went up. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, shucks. You can't like control alt delete that, you know? Um, so I had to fully commit to the buzzed head. And um after I got that like cleaned up, whatever, and I was like looking in the mirror and I'm like, wow, I actually really have like a really decently even shaped head. And that was like right when like Chuck Liddell was super popular, Jason Statham was super popular, and I also now I was like, I think I got a new superpower. So the next morning I like came out and I told my buddies, we're sitting in the living room of our apartment, and I was like, yo boys, I gotta tell you something. But before I come out of my room, don't laugh. And I came out and was like full buzzed. And two of my buddies were like, dude, what did you do to yourself last night? I was like, man, I came home from Chasers. I was trying to cut my hair. I slipped, and now I have no hair. I'm bald. And my buddy from high school, my buddy Ben, was like, well, man, you actually like pull it off weirdly, dude. Like your head looks very even. He's like, I think you could rock it. And I think that was like the one comment made to me that helped solidify some level of confidence that like, oh, this doesn't look bad on me. And like I kind of like it. It feels clean. I feel more aerodynamic. So I just started rocking it. And for the longest time, I just kept shaving it, total buzz cut. So, I am balding like right here now, where if I grow it out, it kind of looks like the Friar Tuck.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you can't go out in public without a hat on. Um, so, but yeah, that's kind of how I came home, was just one drunken stupor at the bar turned into a bad haircut, turned into like, I've been doing that now since the last 15 years.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
as a bald man. And I think it's been great. Like, people have asked me before, like, would you ever want your hair back? Would you ever do hair restoration? 1,000% no. I don't want it back. I was actually asking my wife Kelsey the other week. I was like, do you think they make like laser hair for bald heads? Because I would love a permanent solution to not having to worry about it. And if even just once in a while, cleaning it up a little bit. But yeah, I don't want my hair back. It's not who I am. It's who I was. And so I'm rolling with this, man, till to the grave. So
I love it. I love it. I love it, man. A couple of questions, bro. I want to touch on a few things.
yeah.
One, so you had the clippers at your place. So normally, did you cut your own hair regularly, or did you go somewhere to get it
No,
cut?
I went somewhere else. It was like a hair trimmer, beard trimmer, because I've always had a beard. But that's what I ended up using. But I did typically go to like a hair salon and get the haircut. But also too, like those started becoming $50-$60, and my hair just grew like a weed when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So it really started becoming like cost inefficient to have to feel like I needed to spend $120 a month to go get a haircut.
Oh yeah, I'm already knowing. I'm already knowing. Okay, so that happens that day. You buzz it. The moment you do it. Obviously, you realize you screwed up, and you're like, all
Yeah.
right, I can't undo this. So you shave it. The moment you shave it, bro, and look in that mirror, what was the first reaction? Because you did say you walked out into the living room, and then one of your homies gave this compliment that you were like,
Yeah.
okay, it gave you some confidence. But take me back before you saw them, you first shaved it, and you look in the mirror. What was that first feeling like?
Um, part of me felt like this is a new you. I've always struggled in my life with body image issues. You know, I was a scrawny kid when I grew up. I got picked on for being small. And then I gained a lot of weight in college. And then I was picked on for being overweight.
Yep.
And I think that accident was maybe also somewhat intentional of me being like, dude, you need to create a new version of yourself. And like, you need to start picking yourself up off the floor and not letting people walk all over you. And I think a little bit, part of me was like, yeah, it was probably the Bud Lights, but part of me was also like, it was me being like, you know what, I need to create a new version of myself, and one that is more confident as an individual. So
Yeah, so let's talk about that, man, because a couple of things. One, a good friend of mine always says, bro, he always says that all the greats reinvent themselves.
yeah,
All the greats figure out it's the time I need to change something. And they know when it is, and all the greats reinvent themselves. So you feel like you had a moment of like, it's time for some reinvention. You
yeah,
know, and so to take that into your own hands on a drunken night is,
yeah,
crazy in itself. But you did.
right.
So I love that for sure. But then you mentioned that the aspect of like confidence, right? And I think you mentioned it earlier, but there's actually research that says that bald men are perceived to have more confidence. We're
Yeah,
perceived to have more confidence, to be more
yeah.
powerful, more dominant, etc. So I don't know if you knew that before, or maybe you had just seen no other bald men, whether it's Chuck Liddell, Jason Statham, you just perceived them as being as confident guys or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think was the connection between having a shaved head and confidence to you?
You know, I started reading more on, as you said, like studies come out that bald men feel more confident, come across more confident, etc. I think when I first did it, I think it was tied to a little bit like, dude, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Jason Statham, Bruce Willis, Chuck Liddell, like, you know, men you would go into battle with, right? Like, and look how confident they are on TV, on the movies and interviews. And so part of me was trying to like channel a little bit of all those guys and throw them in a melting pot and, inject it in my veins and just get a kickstart. So
I love it. I love it, man. And I hate to jump the gun on this, but I think we have to now because you just do all these great names. Man, bro, one name that does not come across enough when I ask people about their top most iconic ball man, by far, a name that does not come across enough is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
dude,
Stone
I
Cold Steve Austin, I mean, to me, greatest wrestler of all time. Of
I
all time. When that glass breaks,
oh dude. I honestly actually almost bought WWE on PlayStation 5 the other month because I think he's in it, if I remember correctly. And yeah, like you said, I went and saw him back when it was like the WWF when we were kids. And my uncle's a great artist, and he drew like this really awesome like drawing of Stone Cold with his hands and the beer in the air. And we were like, I think we were at the Rosemont in Illinois. And yeah, man, when that glass breaks, you know something's going down, dude.
all
Somebody's
hell is
gonna be
breaking
put
loose.
into the stunner. And um I just love Stone Cold Steve Austin. If I could like pull off a Halloween costume and add on like 40 pounds of solid muscle and fix my chicken legs and get some jorts, I would be Stone Cold Steve Austin 1000% for Halloween. I would love it.
Oh man, such a badass, man. I mean,
Yeah.
just think about it. Like top wrestler, like in the era, beefing with your boss, drinking beer on the job.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
such a badass.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up, man. You named a few other names, and we'll get to that in the back half. I just had
Yeah.
to
For
stop there
sure.
because
For sure.
people don't give Stone, at least in my opinion, he doesn't get his just due, and I'm unsure how and why. But okay, so you've buzzed it. There's this reinvention kind of going on in your mind. You pop out of the room the next day, you show your brodies. Some of the bros are like, dude, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Other homies are like, yo, you might could actually pull this off. Tell me about what else happens as you like kind of reveal your new look to. I don't know if you're dating Kelsey at that time. So if so,
No.
Not yet. Okay. What about when family first saw, or just other women in your life? What were other reactions you were getting?
Yeah, so I'll never forget this one interaction in college is um I was standing in a apartment and just kind of like minding my own business, and I was kind of getting mean mugged by a group of girls. And I remember asking my buddy Jake, who owned the apartment, I was like, "Did I do something wrong? Like I'm kind of just like standing around." So he goes over, and they're like, "That guy just looks like an asshole." Because apparently I had like RBF. I looked like I was mean mugging, and I think maybe it was I think sometimes the stigma that bald men are like super aggressive, hyper aggressive, alpha male type people. And so, yeah, my buddy Jake was like, "What, you keep staring at that guy, and is something wrong?" And she's like, "Yeah, he just looks like an asshole." And my buddy Jake's like, "That's actually like the nicest kid in the entire room." Like, I still cry, dude, when ET has to go home. Like, so, I'm a very sensitive person and very emotional person. And yeah, so I felt like there was like a little bit of like a stigma that I was walking around with like a little bit of arrogance, but it's quite the opposite. And I think it's because some people think that, yeah, like bald men are trying to put on some sort of like macho like front, and I think it's actually quite the opposite. So
Wow, interesting. I love that story, man. I love that story. And I want to dive into this too because you mentioned it. And we're kind of all over on this episode, but when I hear things I want to talk about, like
yeah, yeah,
so that's why we do the podcast. So you mentioned the idea of being quote unquote sensitive or very in touch with your emotions, right? So when we talk about the idea of manhood, and you talk about how like bald guys are perceived to be this, macho, insensitive, etc. And we also talked before we press play about how, historically maybe, the concept or idea of a man was very much the opposite of
yeah.
sensitivity or emotional, having emotional intelligence and things of that nature. How do you feel like well, one, do you feel like you grew up with that kind of understanding of your emotions, or were just able to kind of find that over time?
Um, in terms of like being more like vulnerable, I feel like
Mhm.
you know, I grew up in a house where you could express your emotions. I think myself as an individual, maybe I overthought it, but I always felt like society is telling me that as a man, you need to be this brick wall that is impenetrable, that you cannot cry, you cannot show emotion. You need to be the primary breadwinner, the one that's always got your head on straight, the clear thinker in every single situation. And I didn't get that from my parents. I think that's just what I saw on TV and in the news and, on the internet and whatever. And so that's kind of how I felt growing up, was that you need to be this like insensitive person. Otherwise, people are going to see you as a man as a weak individual, and you're not going to get promoted. You're not going to get high paying jobs. And it's quite the opposite. So,
Wow. Yeah, man. So, I grew up in and no knock to my parents, because I'm sure they probably grew up in similar environments. But I definitely didn't grow up in a household where like I think emotion in general was very much showed, right? Like I
yeah.
don't my parents weren't very affectionate to us as kids,
Hmm.
or really one another. I didn't grow up seeing my parents like hug all the time or kiss
Yeah.
and kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
I think that, the mixture of like the household and then obviously the stimuli from media, etc.
Hmm.
Um, you know, definitely gave me this very much, brick wall, like don't show emotions. I don't, man, funny. I don't think I remember. I think the last time I cried recently, I can't remember exactly what it was about, but it was probably over the pandemic. But before that, I literally cannot remember the last time I cried.
Yeah.
Like, yo, what is this? And I think the pandemic changed a lot for me personally, just in terms of like my understanding of self, my desire and want to like understand and feel my feelings and be
Yeah.
involved in my feelings, all those things. So I don't know, like, I think this platform has been great, for me and the guys we speak to, but it's also up to, honestly, it's from a selfish standpoint, it's been good to me to be able to just talk to guys about emotions, because there's
Yeah.
never been a point in my life when I felt comfortable doing that. But
Yeah.
now I'm at the stage where it's like, wow, I'm starting to understand my emotions as well. And it's made me a better person. So
Yeah.
let me use this avenue as an opportunity to make sure and make it
Yeah.
commonplace for guys to be able to discuss emotions without any kind of stigmas, man.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I love it, bro. I love it. So you're out and about now. Some people think you're a total asshole. Others think like, hey, who is this, like, this cool new guy with the ball look?
Yeah.
How long do you feel like it took for you to be like, I'm very confident and very familiar now with this look, and I like it? Did it take, was it a couple of days, a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
You were like used to it, like this is my look now.
I think probably a couple of months is when I started really feeling very comfortable with having a bald or at the time buzzed head. I didn't go full bald until probably like 2014, 2015. And yeah, I just felt like I was like, oh, it felt nice, like getting out and being a little bit quicker, getting out of the shower and getting dressed and not feeling like, oh, I need to do my hair and, oh, this one piece of hair didn't fall that way. So now like my whole day's ruined, my outfit's like shot. And I'm like, nah, man, just get on a shirt that you feel comfortable in, that you look good in, and get out, put some nice aftershave on and some witch hazel and go out about the day. So I think in the first couple of months after I finally came home is when I felt most comfortable doing it. And I was like, I think I just want to like keep up and maintain this look for the foreseeable future. And then I think really when I started actually shaving in 2015 is when I was like, yeah, I'm never going back. There's no way. This feels way too good. Like that feeling when you get out of the shower with a fresh shaved head and a splash of witch hazel is like next to godliness. It just feels so good. It feels so good.
Talk that
And
talk, man. Talk that talk.
and like when your hair grows out after a couple days and you can feel it start getting a little rough and you've that first pass of the razor, you're like, there it is. There's that nice bald head. Nice to see you again. And I think going back to confidence, that really adds confidence for myself after like a fresh shave of like being like, you know what, I feel good in my body. I feel like I look good in my body, and that's all I need for myself. I don't need others' opinions on it. And so now I'm ready to get out and attack the day. So
My man, talking that talk. That's why we had you up here. We knew you were gonna talk that talk today, right? We knew you were gonna talk that talk, man. No, I love everything about what you just said there, man. And one thing that often comes up on every episode is the idea of like, hey, when you had hair, you go to the barbershop, get that fresh haircut. Everybody loves that fresh cut feeling. And some man wonder, like, would I ever see that again or have that feeling again when I'm bald? And a lot of us now are like, oh yeah, you still get that feeling. And sometimes it's even more elevated than the feeling you had back in the day.
yeah,
So I'm glad you could talk through that for a
yeah,
second. One more thing before we get into the back half of it, bro. Talk to me about what surprised you about the maintenance when you kind of went bald. Was there any surprises? Like, so for instance, for me, and still to this day, it's annoying, is when I went bald, I didn't expect the maintenance to be so high in terms of the frequency of shaving, right? Like
yeah,
I would see bald guys when I was younger or whatever. Like, this guy has no hair.
right,
I never thought like, oh, well, he just was balding in one area and hair still grows. I'm just thinking he's bald. And like you mentioned earlier, like, yo, like I wish there's a laser product so I don't have to worry about this anymore. That was still to me the number one thing that like just caught me by surprise. Wait, I got to shave again every
yeah,
other day, every day. So talk to me about that, or if anything else surprised you about going back.
yeah. That was super surprising. Is like at some point you see those people that look like, yeah, like they're permanently bald and it's just smooth 100% of the time. And I have very sensitive skin, and I'm like, how are you just not like bleeding out with like irritation and razor burn or like ingrown hairs, etc. And then I think the other thing that really surprised me was when I had hair, it was really soft. And after shaving, um, I I have really nice skin. I have really sensitive skin, but I have a really oily scalp. And so then I was like, oh, I didn't realize like I've got to like now take care of that. So kind of depending on the humidity or the heat during the day or whatever, at the end of the night, I'm super self-conscious. I've had people come up and they like do the Buddha rub on your head, and then off with their hand comes a whole oil slick. And I'm like, well, what did you think was going to happen when you rub a bald dude's head in 100-degree weather? And it makes me a little self-conscious. So, at night I've started using those like makeup remover towelettes. I think I use like Burt's Bees. And at night I just give it like a nice once over, so that way my head's nice and dry and not oily as I, put my head down on the pillow. That was probably the number one thing that surprised me was, yeah, I was like, oh my God, I got a really oily scalp up there. I didn't realize so much oil comes out of one's head, because typically I feel like with your hair, it's just going in through your hair. And so it's like evened out. So that was probably the most surprising thing. And then, yeah, the maintenance, I was like, man, I got to do this like every 2 to 3 days if I want to continue to like look decent, or feel decent when I go out in public. And so, the maintenance, yeah, haircut every 2 or 3 weeks. Now this is like meticulous. I feel like sometimes I take longer than Kelsey to get ready when it's shave day, because I've got like 18 items lined out across the bathroom sink, and it's like this process, and I just take my time. So that way I don't, slice my head open, because I've done that before too, and that's not a good feeling.
Not pretty at all. Yeah, man. It is quite the learning curve, I would say. Like when you come home and start to realize some of these things. So yeah, I love to ask that question.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one more. I'm sorry, before the back.
Yeah.
So everybody that knows me, it's like, Kenny is a very like I say talk that talk because I'm known to talk that talk. Like I'm gonna tell you how I'm feeling, and
Right.
I'm gonna say it. So one thing, and it could just be me because I'm building this brand, so I love to ask it up here. I have this feeling right now that there's this kind of like, maybe, I don't know, maybe call it a renaissance of the bald head right now, right? And part of it could be because maybe I'm biased now to notice more bald heads. Clearly, we talked about there's a lot of bald guys in sports, media, business doing their thing. But to me, there's something happening right now where it's like, yo, is it now that all of a sudden, like, people are really starting to embrace the bald head and we're getting the shine we deserve? I think The Rock maybe 2 years ago was voted sexiest man in America, et cetera. So yeah, bro, talk to me. Are you starting to feel or see that too? Like something's going on right now. Like we're on the up and up, or is it just me kind of making this thing up?
I definitely think so. I think there's always going to be that group, right, that wants to do the hair restoration. They don't feel comfortable as bald men. And I think there's some people that are like, similar to what I said earlier, like, I'm going to reinvent myself. And this is an opportunity to do it without like drastically changing lifestyle, beliefs or whatever, values. But I'm just going to change how I look. And for me, that's enough for me to give myself enough of that boost. And I think also, I wonder too, if it's because of the pandemic, people weren't able to go get haircuts. And so they're like, dude, the easiest thing is to literally just chop it all off. And they chopped it all off. And similar to me, they're like, dang, I actually look pretty decent. I think I'm going to rock this. And then also, I don't have to like worry about paying $80 for a haircut anymore. I don't have to go out and buy hair gel and put super glue in my hair to keep my hair up anymore. So part of me wonders if like the pandemic like was a catalyst to kick this off. And I think as society gets a little bit more open on men being vulnerable and being open to having emotions and expressing themselves in different ways that are positive, I think we're going to start to see a lot more people feeling comfortable in being bald, because I always felt like growing up that, like, as I said, bald was bad, and bald was a sign that you were aging, and maybe that you didn't take care of yourself. And it's very quite the opposite. Like, I have a very meticulous regiment when I shave my head. I take a lot of care of my skin, and so I'm happy to see it. I think it's great. My brother sent me a picture of like a Snapchat filter or whatever, like a few months ago, of him bald, and I was like, dude, do it. But if you're gonna do it, first off, buzz it first and then shave, because it'll be like chopping through a thick forest with a razor. So don't do that to yourself. He hasn't done it yet, but it's like, if you want to, just do it. And I think the world's becoming more accepting of that men also want to look good. As I said before, like Deion Sanders, if you feel good, you look good. If you look good, you play good. And if you play good, they pay good. And for me, it's all about just like having that inner confidence to step out in your day. I'm not a stylish person. I don't wear expensive clothes, but when you feel good about yourself, it comes out in other ways outside of like just your day is happier. You feel more accomplished at the end of the day that you got stuff done. And I tie a lot of that back to myself of like being accepting of being a bald man.
Woo! My guy's preaching today, and I love it, man. I love it, man. So, yeah, man. I growing up, I was always a very confident kid, and everybody will tell you that. But when I was losing my hair, that was the first time I ever like was shook up, like
Yeah.
Embarrassed, dealing with anxiety, things I've never dealt with, wearing 24/7, trying to like hide it, blah blah blah. And when I fought like almost 4 years, fought my hair loss. Obviously I lost, or maybe I won actually.
Exactly. You got to reframe it, right? Different mindset.
But I recall, coming home and then, trying to figure out the maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, and I think it took me a couple of months to finally feel it too. I'm like, wait, you know what? This is the new you. And like you do like this version of you. You are still in love with yourself. And once that hit, man, I get the fresh shave, I pop out, and like you said, like the confidence, it's almost radiant. You know what I'm saying? People can see that. People can feel that. You're confident in yourself. And you just talked about it. I wanted to double down on that thought process though. Like when you are yourself, you aren't trying to hide anything. You aren't hiding behind a wig or like a man piece or whatever. Just if you can be confident and comfortable in your own skin, I mean, people all over can feel that. And that energy, that energy brings other energy in. So I love it, man.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree.
Back half, man. Couple quick questions, brother. First question here. We don't really have the opportunity to switch our hairstyle, bro. We're one and done. Ain't switching to this or that. We're one and done.
Yeah.
And because of that, many bald men would try hats will kind of help them switch their look up a little bit. Do you wear hats? And if so, what's your kind of favorite or go-to hat?
Yeah, man, I love hats, dude. I'm obsessed with snapbacks and tattoos. Like I said, I'm a punk rock kid. I will always be a punk rock kid. So I love nothing more than a backwards hat. And actually, I've got it here. My favorite one is Melon. It's just super comfortable. I know Stephen Kendall was on, a couple of weeks ago. He actually got me onto these, and they're not cheap. And I never thought I would spend almost $60 on a hat. But the minute I put it on, I was like, wow, it's comfortable. It floats. It's like sweat wicking. I think it's sweat resistant. And just like super stylish. So you will find me probably wearing this hat at least maybe 4 to 5 days out of the week. I feel like once the head starts getting a little bit rougher, I'm just like, I'm throwing on a backwards hat. And then when it's shave day, I'm like, okay, now I will take it off, because the other good thing is like the band just doesn't irritate my scalp when I wear it. And I found with a lot of hats, as soon as I put it on right after shave, I start breaking out like right here and right here where the headband was on the hat. And these Melon hats don't do that at all. So Melon, if you're listening to this, I want one in every color, please.
I
I'm
love it, man.
absolutely obsessed with these hats.
Shout out to them for sure, for sure. And I do think Steve shouted out the same one. So I love it, man. That's absolutely dope. Next question, family. We got into this a little bit earlier, but I need you to stamp your top four, man. Top four most iconic ball man that would throw on Mount Rushmore. Who would you list out there, bro?
Yeah, I'd say no particular order, but The Rock, Bruce Willis, Stone Cold, and MJ. Just
High quality list there.
yeah, I think
Quality.
MJ is just, he's always pulled it off. And I think that is probably the first person ever at a young age where I was like, bald people look really good. And you can't beat Michael Jordan. So
It's the GOAT, man. It's the GOAT.
yeah,
The Chi-Town kid, of course. They gotta be
yeah, yeah, exactly.
We love it. We love it, man. Two final questions, man. Two of my favorite ones, bro. We should put on this podcast, one, just to chop it up with guys, build community, to learn some of these stories, to share some of these stories. But also there's the idea that somebody's dealing with hair loss right now and watching this, and they can get some advice from you, bro. So if you know somebody's dealing with hair loss right now, what would be the best advice you could share?
I would say feel comfortable in making that decision. And when you decide to make that decision, don't do it for other people. Like, do it for yourself. Don't do it because someone says, like, dude, your hair looks bad, you should go bald, you should get rid of it. Like, do it for yourself because it makes you feel good. Like, forget everybody else's opinions. Do something for yourself, because at the end of the day, it's your character and it's your confidence that you're dealing with. And I think that people's opinions don't matter. It's a decision that you make for yourself. And like, just rock it. The world is now so much more accepting of people being bald at even just a younger age, that I feel like you have a lot more support behind your decision to go bald and come home than you think you do. So that's what I would say to anybody struggling with the possibility of coming home. Just do it for yourself. Forget everybody else's opinions, and the support network is out there. So
no doubt. That's a fact. Got the home team right here. So that. Final question, Brody. So come home, we spell it in French to kind of give us the double entendre here. And in French, it translates to English to me, like a man or as a man. And I know we got into this a bit earlier, but I want to make sure that I give you time to speak on this specifically at the end of the podcast. You being a married man now, I'm sure your concept of manhood has changed quite a bit over your life. So talk to me today, man. When you think about what it means to be a man, what does that mean to you, bro?
Yeah, I think, no particular order, I would say respect, both for yourself and for others. Really just treat other people how you want to be treated. It's not that difficult of a concept. And when you treat others how you want to be treated, and respect others, it just makes the world a better place. But also respecting yourself. I grew up with mental health issues as a kid, and didn't really respect myself, and it's taken a long time to get there. So yeah, respect for yourself, respect for others. I think another one is feeling comfortable and understanding that it's okay to express emotion. As we've mentioned before, there's this stigma now that it's going away, but that back in the day, men couldn't talk. You had to be impenetrable, and you just had to be this total hard ass. And I think, as I said earlier, with people struggling with coming out and coming home, your support group is a lot larger than you think it is. So don't feel afraid to be vulnerable, show those emotions. And the people that laugh at you because you cry or whatever when you get emotional or sad or upset or something traumatic happens in your life, those are probably people that you may not need within your life to begin with. I think also too, going back to men, suicide is high in men, and I think it ties back to that stigma that we can't show emotions. I looked up the other day, it's like one man every 14 and a half minutes commits suicide in the US. And obviously for various reasons, but the narrative needs to change on men not being able to show their emotions. So I've worked on myself a lot, even just in the last couple of years. I mean, God, with the pandemic, so yeah, emotions are cool. And the last one, I think, for me, and probably the most important, is being supportive and loving of the women in your life that support you. You know, as I mentioned, I have an awesome mom, my two grandmothers I've known my entire life. I was blessed for the first 20 to know my great grandmother, and then obviously one of the most important people, in my life, Kelsey, my queen. I wouldn't be a billionth of the person or man I am today without the love and support from her or my family, the women in my life. So I feel like she's the reason I get up, you know, put my pants on and attack the day. So I think it's super important for men to be supportive of the women in their life, because I truly think behind every good man, there's an even better woman or a group of women that helped raise that person to be who they are today. So,
Woo. I don't think you needed any brownie points from Kelsey, but there they go. There they go. Amazing, amazing answer, brother, man. Wow. Like, touched on so many beautiful things, whether that be emotional vulnerability, whether that be obviously respecting women, because I think that's the one thing as well that if we think back on the stimuli that we received growing up,
yeah,
I don't think that was a part of it. It's probably the
right,
opposite.
right.
So just wow, man. This was another amazing episode, and we do have to shout out your wife for connecting us for making this happen, man. So thank you so much, Kelsey. I really, really, really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thanks, honey.
Man. Bro, if people loved your episode and want to just tap in with you to connect, what's the best way to find you on social media, man?
Yeah, Instagram, RJKC2. Give me a follow. Anybody that has questions about going bald, I'm happy to have a conversation as well too. I think this has been good. It's been therapeutic. And like I said, there's a world out there full of support for bald men. So yeah, RJKC2 on Instagram. It's usually pictures of my dog.
We love it. We love it. We love it, man. Well, dog, again, thank you for joining us so much. It's been an amazing episode. Cannot wait to get this out to the people, man. Everybody that's watching, as always, thank you. And as I say at the end of every single episode, y'all stay bald, y'all stay bold, and I'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, Kenny.
Of course, man. Later.